Greetings world, fellow Anons, Denmark Anons activists and humans who seek the truth. We are Anon DK. In our previous video, a look inside the life of an anonymous, we discussed Linus DK. Today, we thought it only right to tell you about his anonymous. Fearless One had long been awake to the system. She grew up knowing there were controllers ruling everything and tracking every move humans make in this world. Most Americans tend to identify with 9/11 as the great tragedy of time. When 9/11 happened, she saw the conspiracy as plain as day. Well, she did not see the plane, nor the conspiracy, until the second time she saw the news. The plane had been added, and the conspiracy revealed before her eyes. She knew for certain, from then, that the world was a lie, and we are all just fools in the game. So she allowed herself to continue trapped in the machine, grinding away in a known pointless life. Then finally she broke through to the next level, to a normal job with good pay, but there was no value in what she did from day to day. Money was no worry for once, but it only suffocated her. She had no one attached to her in real life, besides one friend. Her existence made no difference and had no purpose. No one would care if she dropped dead. Just a cog in the machine. A slave to the system. She had to do something to break free. Fearless One had always followed Anonymous, and one day, after many months of serious consideration, decided to comment on an anonymous post. She decided to put it all on the line. Go all out. Reach for the prize. Dream big. Expand her horizons. And so she said, I have no skill, no knowledge, but I would give anything to be anonymous. And to her shock and amazement, a response appeared instantly. The anonymous replied, You can be anonymous. What is stopping you? So she thought on this. She considered what she had to lose. Since being an anonymous is considered terrorism under law in her country, she knew the legal consequences for any action she took as anonymous. Even sharing a link can land one in prison for many years, not to mention all of the side charges they always rack up on those they wish to persecute. Cyber laws are very steep indeed. She knew it was no joke. She had followed whistleblowers and anons in the past who had been snitched on and jailed, suicided, murdered for spreading the truth, and many wishing they had considering eternity in prison. She would be putting her life on the line every time she got on. She knew full well. She decided to follow the anonymous onto IRC. There she was introduced to the world, that is, the IRC, the world of anonymous. Hundreds of anons were gathered working on operations, discussing skills, teaching and learning. It took many weeks of lurking to get accustomed to how to act, what was appropriate and what was not, who to trust and who was an agent, who was there just to talk shit and who was there to accomplish something. The IRC is so infected now, many anons now have their own private ones to invite only trusted anons into. But the hive was exactly what it should be. Back then, Everyone had their own talent and skills. Everyone did their part. The collective, buzzing with knowledge. It was the first family Fearless One had ever known. People who actually cared about what mattered. She learned you cannot call yourself anonymous. It is something given, not taken. The bonds of Anonymous are much stronger than the bonds most make in real life. Many growing up today have no understanding of what respect even means, much less how to give it and earn it. Not to mention the rest of the qualities necessary to be anonymous. We know we are holding each other's lives and freedom in our hands. Every day, Anonymous work together to defeat our enemy. To uphold justice, truth, freedom. It is a trusting a responsibility, and a mindset that cannot be explained. It is the idea, and it must be preserved. Fearless One had many mentors, including one Linus DK. In months she learned coding, and was pulled into a group to begin an operation. A police officer who recently had shot a black man in the USA was found by Nins to be a member of the Ku Klux Klan. The murder was a planned hit, one of the KKK's ritual killings. The people had started a movement called Hands Up Don't Shoot. The Nins were able to get much information from the police officer's girlfriend who was cheating on him. The group then had the name of the leader of the KKK in that area, Frank Ankena. It did not take a skilled or long to find his details, and the game was on. The protests were very peaceful and grew and spread through the country. It was so beautiful to see everyone coming together in the streets in total peace, ending violence the right way. So Anonymous supported them in the streets and with up KKK and up hoods off, exposing the leaders of the Ku Klux Klan. It exploded overnight. Frank Ankena, the leader of the KKK group, threatened violence against the protesters in Missouri, and to kill Nins. Anonymous are against violence, against hate, against division. So the daughter of the group exposed over 55 members of KKK, all high-ranking members and most involved in a high level of politics. Senators and congressmen, governors and mayors, many doctors. A website was up for a while giving a page biography for each exposed Klan members. While all of this work was going on, Fearless One seemed to be falling in love with not only Anonymous but her mentor, Linus. But what was she to do? The protesters were then overrun by the Black Lives Matter movement, which is funded by George Soros. It seems the peaceful protest in such an increasing size and duration was too much for the elite to handle. The paid BLM protesters created violence and riots which destroyed the peaceful Hands Up Don't Shoot movement, and the media stopped using the movement's name in reports, only discussing BLM. Fearless One learned much about those who control us. Her friendship grew with Linus DK, and when he found out she was female it only increased. Linus kept her safe online, which is where she was around the clock, even while at work. By this time, the violence and rage in the KKK had risen much. The protests were countrywide, and the top highest level Grand Wizards and Imperial Dragons of the Ku Klux Klan were being exposed by the dozens every week. Then, the group learned they'd had a switch. A fellow trusted Anonymous sold out the identities of those he called friend. After an interview with Frank Ankena himself, though those in the group found this out later on.
There are some new faces in the standoff in the troubled American town of Ferguson, or rather some new masks. The Ku Klux Klan has now hit out at Anonymous. The right-wing hate group posted this threat to the hacktivists and their followers. KKK even promised to come to Ferguson and use lethal force against anyone wearing a Guy Fawkes mask. A reaction was quick and forthcoming.
You threaten peaceful protesters with violence. You threaten us. We seized your Twitter account. We took down your website.
We are attacking you because of your threats to use lethal attack. attacks against us at the Ferguson protests. You messed with our family and now we will mess with yours. Anything you upload will be taken down. Anything you use to promote the KKK will be shut down.
Anonymous have attacked Frank's clan by hacking the Facebook accounts of members and publishing them online. Public exposure of their personal details has placed them in real danger. Some members are so scared they've decided to quit the clan for good.
Oh no!
You know, it scared some people. It's because of their families.
They're nothing but a bunch of scumbags. That's the way I see them.
And what did they do exactly?
Well, they got in, they hacked our website, and it was down. I mean, they shut us completely down, and we had to fix it to where they won't get in it no more.
John and his wife Heather fear for their 3 children and have reluctantly hung up their hoods.
You're a loser.
There will be repercussions. I'm speaking for the white man and the white race. Our heritage, our next generation. We ain't got much longer to live, but this is the future of the white race.
That is why you fail.
Some of the Anons in the group received physical, verbal written threats. One Anon disappeared. Another was beaten up and the brakes on his car were cut so he would be unable to stop if he was driving. After Fearless One received that message from him, he disappeared. Another's cat was killed and left on his porch. He was verbally threatened and his identity exposed. He disappeared. Fearless One's family was dropping like flies. That is what happens when dignity and loyalty die. While all of this was going on for weeks, Fearless One made plans for the moment when the shit really hit the fan, which she knew it would. This is the life in Anonymous. That is what it means. There will be no news articles reporting deaths. Most never make it into the news for their trials. When one is anonymous in every way. The identity is sacrificed for the idea. Anonymous give up their previous programming and are reinstalled with truth. Fearless One had originally planned on waiting for them to come. She would not go down without a fight and was prepared. Then Linus offered her a place to go to. During this time the IRC was so infected and Anons were being used by the agents. The group exposed the agents who owned the servers the IRC was on, and the Anonymous that used to be dissolved more rapidly than it was before. There was no one to trust, and no one to help, but Linus is a true Anonymous. He holds the idea, and because of that, life matters. Every life. No matter what. Fearless One received a message one day that it was time for her to leave. They were coming. She went home and gathered her laptop and USBs and left on the next plane. She had to wait in the safe house which she had set up ahead of time for her passport. She was heavily protected by Hell's Angels. She had no money or belongings, but Linus DK and a few other Anons pulled their money together and bought the ticket that saved her life. One Anon from the group went public to stay alive. While at the safe house, she was fooling around online. She stumbled onto many files and documents which caused the shit to really hit the fan. Fearless One received messages from a friend saying private detectives had been harassing Fearless One's friends and family. Trying to find her, people had to move to different houses and change phone numbers. As the stalking continued, the safe house was watched. Agents circled the house from time to time trying to see and would follow everyone who left the house. Several times suits came to try to get in, but she was well protected, and had not been seen. No one knew she was there. For certain, the government blocked her passport for 6 weeks. She was talking to the last remaining Anonymous from the group, who planned on leaving the country as well. During this downtime, they discovered who the snitch was. One Alex Poucher was heading to Germany when it was discovered he was paid by the KKK to betray the Anons. $1,000 per head. KKK is government run and Alex is a snitch, a coward, and anonymous fraud still today. Hired by the government, he now works as a cyber agent and journalist, helping to keep the propaganda going. A Cebu, just another official owner of Anonymous. And like all those who say they are used by the government to honeypot and expose real Anons. On the morning the last Anon from the group was to leave the country, his car was set on fire. Fearless One was unable to get in touch with her final friend after this. She took the next flight out, as soon as the documents were in order, and came to Linus. In a foreign country, with a language she never heard before, everything was different, and as a refugee she could do nothing but wait for her application to go through. So she was unable to make any money, and Linus had his own troubles, which we discussed in the previous video. Times are very difficult, especially in a country where you cannot go to a pawn shop or sell what you have for money. But that is the chain we are all weighed down by: money. Fearless One was followed internationally. Still able to keep her files and documents safe, she had to get it out. People have a right to know what is going on, how they are controlled, being led to the slaughter, and who is doing this. The elite have done well to hide their truth and the true history and sciences from the world. There is one set of education that the masses are given to learn and hear and know. And then, just like the internet, there is the deep web, the vastly larger pool of knowledge that is kept hidden from the majority but it common knowledge among those included. The Fearless One wanted to find out who these people were, and expose them to the world. So she did. Fearless One read a Rothschild interview one day in which they claimed they could trace their genes back to Cain, to 4400 BC. However, they never have revealed that information. And with the claim being out there, Fearless One took it upon herself to get down to the truth and expose it once and for all. She wasn't sure where to begin. So she started at the basics: DNA, genetics. Then she studied genealogy. She found the elite families and read everything she found from first-hand sources, translating original works, various medical, scientific, astronomy, language and other studies and documents written by experts and whistleblowers in their field. She read thousands of documents from the blueprints of the houses the Rothschilds and Aldorini, Onassis and Farnese families own, to the artwork they have, what it means, who the people painted were, statues, who they were in real life, the schools and clubs they went to. She followed them and learned much most will never believe. She studied their friends, their interests, what they do behind closed doors in the night, why they have so many secret rooms and halls in their houses and castles, what they do at their parties. She found many disturbing things, rampant pedophilia, and things that have no name, and should never be done, thought, or spoken of. What they really put into their wines before selling them at $114,614. Know your enemy. So she continued her research, and went further. Linus pushed her to look deeper and go the extra step, even when she felt like giving in. He challenged her, making sure she was not looking for what fed into her beliefs and way of thinking. He taught her how to wake up, how to be more than she was. She followed the elite back in time. She uncovered for herself all they had done through history across the world. In university they say should study 3 hours per credit hour. Serious students study roughly 24 and 2800 hours per year. A PhD takes 4,440 hours over 3 years to complete. Within the first 11 months of this focused research, the Fearless One had spent over 7,000 hours of study on the elite bloodlines. She completed the genealogy back to Cain. The claim stands true. The weight of what was discovered was overwhelming, and the Fearless One spent much time in agony, crying and weeping in pain for the blind masses. She did not know what to do, but all of this is too big. People must know. These things should be known by all, not hidden. She compiled all she could into a document, trying to summarize all she had learned so it could be easily read, understood and passed to the masses. Knowing no one would read anything long, if at all, she made a limit of 150 pages. This left only time to jot down a very brief timeline of the main players of the Bloodlines. Though there was so much more, she fit in what she could. So she learned how to make videos on websites and get the message out to the world. Accounts have been blocked, deleted and banned, videos censored and websites and articles taken down repeatedly. Files have been hacked into and bugged, and much more. The battle we are in is real. Fearless One is fearless, for she has destroyed her beliefs, her views, her mind, her fear. Everything she knew, she destroyed from the proofs in her research. She has deleted all she was told from the elite. The programming is no more. She has walked through the fires of deception and lies and fear, but she is anonymous. And anonymous will not be burned. Though it hurts, the programming is difficult to break. For we must be willing to unlearn what we have been taught by them. Erase the programming, the reactions, the mental constipation. Recognize the symbols, the signs. Listen to and understand what the elite say and what they mean. Do not be deceived. It was difficult. She spent many months struggling to accept the truth she found, to reprogram her mind in the truth. But that is what Anonymous requires. Fearless One made a choice when she became anonymous, to give her life to truth, to fight to free people. But she cannot free her fellow humans from their slavery. She is forced to watch in torment as the blind wander in the dark without knowing. Forced to hold the weight of what is to come. She cannot stop it alone. So in the hope that one may wake up, for just one person is worth the world, if one other person is willing to speak truth, and only truth, regardless the cost, then the information she has will not die with her. Truth is the light in the darkness. We fight against the forces of darkness, which can never extinguish the light, so long as those with the idea, the light of truth, keeps shining. The idea will live on. Expect it.